I know I'm starting this video with shit lighting, but I'm comfy on my couch and I don't feel like getting up to turn on the light just to film this clip. So you're gonna have to bear with me. But I have started reading Love at Second Sight by F.T. Lukens, and I'm on page 54, which is like 10% into the book according to Libby, and I'm really enjoying it. Actually, it should be more than 10%. I think my Libby is behind on its percentage. It does that sometimes. But anyway, I'm enjoying it so far. Obviously I'm not super far in, but I've kind of gotten to like the inciting incident as far as the title is concerned. Our main character, Cam, just, I should probably lay out the story first before I explain what so the main character is this guy named Cam. He's a high school student, and he and his best friend Al, who is a witch, are after many years of being in different schools, they are finally going to the same high school again because there was a rezoning, a new school was built, and now they are both in the same school zone. Cam, as far as he had known up to this point, is just a regular old human, whereas Al comes from a family of witches, and they were like interfacing a lot with like witchy friends and stuff like that. And then this is also a world that has like werewolves and sprites and vampires and all kinds of different supernatural creatures. And this school that they've been rezoned to is noted to be like particularly heavily leaning towards the neighborhoods and communities that have a high number of like paranormal people in the population. And so Cam is kind of the odd one out in terms of being a human at a very supernatural school. It's also worth noting that Cam's parents they're obviously aware that supernatural beings exist, but they are not a huge fan of of paranormal beings, and particularly not a big fan of Al and their friendship with Cam. Cam ends up in the hall, like he had been wandering through the school. He'd like had a little bit of a tiff with Al and just kind of like stormed off during lunch and was wandering through the school, and he doesn't know his way around the school yet. It's a brand new school, and it's his first day, and he accidentally wandered into the hall for like the upperclassmen or whatever. I should note, when I'm trying to talk about terms for like they say freshman and sophomore and stuff like that, I went to a high school that only had 3 grades. It was grades 10 through 12. So I don't know what these words mean, and I always get mixed up about which is which. So I don't know if this was the senior hall. Maybe it was the senior hall. But anyway, he ends up in this hall, and an altercation happens, and he gets like knocked down during the altercation. But then he has a vision, and this is like he's never had a vision before, at least not as far as he's aware. And so where I've ended at is he's literally just learning that he had a vision, or like that what he thought was a dream that he experienced was actually a vision. And I'm assuming he's gonna have to come to terms with it. His parents are going to be informed, and I am curious to see how they're going to react to that. I'm already theorizing that his parents are gonna be like, this is because you hang out with those witches, and like blame his proximity to magic for him developing this ability. Or maybe this is something that's in his family history and we're going to learn stuff about that. But in any case, I'm very excited to keep reading. I love F.T. Lukens books, so I'm really, really excited to read more from them. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure I remembered to give some kind of introduction, because sometimes I forget to do that. Okay, I just read more. I'm like just past page 100 now, and I don't have like a huge update, but there is a moment in one of the chapters I read like since the last update, and so Cam has a crush on this guy named Mateo who's a werewolf, and there's this moment where Mateo gets flustered by something, and his werewolf ears come out, and I just think that's so fucking cute. I'm really enjoying this book. I want more cute, embarrassed werewolf things, please. I wanted to make sure I gave another update. I'm 54% of the way through Love at Second Sight, so I figured halfway-ish mark is a good place to update. We have learned a lot more about Cam's powers and how they work, and He's like intentionally experienced, he calls them glimpses, and like they've come true. And, I'm not going to get too into specifics because I don't want to get too spoilery, but basically he's like confirmed that he has real visions, and now he's trying to figure out what to do about his first glimpse because it involves someone dying. So he's like, hey, that's bad. I should maybe try to intervene in that if I can. Um and also he's like met the person who was in the glimpse, and it's connected to someone that he like knows and cares about. So that there are some layers of tension and complication here. We're also at a point where Cam has kind of, through a series of happenstance and odd situations, has fallen in with this group of people where like they're each from a different paranormal faction. And so there's like this interesting tension between all of them because like not all the factions get along. Some of them have like really tense and personal histories between them. But also all these characters have some kind of issue with their paranormal abilities, like their magic, their powers. And so like it's interesting seeing all of them kind of struggling in their own way. Again, I'm trying not to get too specific. Mateo continues to be very cute, with his ears popping out when he gets all flustered. And we've had more scenes. Like in the beginning of the book, we had very little interaction between Mateo and Cam, but we've had like several more scenes now, and they're all very cute. I also really like how the like first glimpse at like central mystery is being teased out, because like we are slowly learning things, or at least like narrowing down options of what could be going on, but like they keep coming on roadblocks. Like at one point they're like, oh, there's security cameras in the school, we can look at the camera footage and see who crashed into Cam and caused the vision, but there was a banner in the hallway and the banner blocks the camera, so they can't actually see what happened. So like it's like I appreciate that the characters are thinking of these things and are trying to use them to find answers, but then they just don't pan out, because some books will just, the characters just for some reason don't think of that. I like mentioned the other like paranormal factions and stuff like that. I find all the different creatures and their magic interesting, and like the relationships with each other interesting, and particularly how Cam as a clairvoyant falls in with all of that, because clairvoyants are super, super rare. And so every faction kind of wants to claim Cam for their own and kind of have Cam as like this tool in their back pocket. And so that's like an interesting thing for Cam to have to navigate, is like, even like among his new kind of friends, he's questioning like, okay, is this person inviting me over because they actually want to hang out with me, or because their faction is telling them to to get close to me and woo me to their side to like join them and do things for them. And so that's like an interesting thing. I'm also really curious about what's going on with, I don't remember if I mentioned this in the first clip, but Cam has an older brother named Aiden who like moved away for college and then like completely dropped contact with his family. It seems to be implied that maybe he experienced something similar to Cam, like maybe there was some kind of seery thing going on. So I'm curious about that, and like obviously something is going to be going on with Aiden in this book, otherwise like why would his absence be introduced, and like why would it keep I cannot, the grammar. Why would the narrative keep bringing up his absence and the fact that he stopped talking to Cam, and to stop talking to the whole family? So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. And I'm just really enjoying it, and I'm excited to keep reading. And I think I might keep reading. I really want to see if I can finish this book this weekend. So I'm gonna do that. Hello. I finished reading Love at Second Sight last night before I went to bed. I read like half the book yesterday because I just felt like it. I just felt like finishing the book, so I did. And it was really good. I think it did a really good job playing with expectations and teasing out, like, first you thought the reveal was one thing, but then the reveal was another thing. But then both these things do have to still be true together. So how is that possible? And also, it doesn't make sense that it's either of these people. So how could it be? And like that was done so well, and the actual reveal, like I realized loosely what the actual reveal was going to be before we got there, but it was so satisfying like when we got to a certain moment and I realized like, oh wait, if this is the group that's doing it, then these characters must be involved. And then like playing through things, going back into the story of like, wait, oh, so when they were doing this thing, that was because of blah blah. I know I'm being extremely vague, but it's because I'm trying not to give spoilers. Um, and it was just like it was really satisfying. I also really loved seeing like every one of the characters in this friend group struggles with their powers in some way, and so seeing all of them navigate that and all of their strengths actually like get to shine and come into play, it just felt like there was really good payoff for everything. I also, one thing I do want to flag though is this book is called Love at Second Sight, and it's got Mateo and Cam on the cover. And so it's visually, when you look at the cover of the book, and it's marketed as if it's a romance. And there is romance in this story, but I would not call this a romance. This is a YA contemporary fantasy with a romance subplot. So that's an interesting, I know that's not the author's decision, but from a marketing standpoint, that's an interesting choice. And I feel like there will be readers who go into this and are disappointed by what the actual emphasis and focus of the story is. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and I like that the romance was more of a side element because it allowed it to just be this cute little thing, and it didn't have to have this I feel like if it had tried to be more than that, then it would have felt like bloated or imbalanced. But the way it was actually handled was done very well, and it was really cute. I think that's all I can really get into without talking spoilers. This is a really, really good book. I love F.T. Lukens books, so I'm really glad I picked this one up, and I'm excited for the next one. And this was 5 stars, if that wasn't clear. 5 out of 5. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, leave a eyeball emoji because it's love at second sight. And I will see you in my next video. Okay, bye!